The gravel crunched beneath Ava Langston's boots as she stepped out of her car, clutching a modest gear bag tightly to her side. The sun bore down harshly over the wide-open plains of Cedar Bend, Texas, casting long, shimmering waves of heat across the dusty shooting range. Ava adjusted the strap on her shoulder and glanced around. Weathered benches lined the front of the range where a cluster of men in faded baseball caps and worn work shirts leaned back, sipping from dented thermoses, their low voices weaving between bursts of laughter and the occasional flick of cigarette ash. She felt at the moment she stepped into their periphery the quick, sideways glances, the sudden hush in their conversation. At 43, Ava had walked into enough rooms to know exactly when she wasn't expected, and certainly not welcomed. But she wasn't new to discomfort. Years ago, being one of the few black women in her medical school taught her how to square her shoulders and carry on. She hadn't driven all the way out here to win anyone's approval. She was here for herself. Still, as she made her way toward the sign-in desk, a flicker of nerves twisted in her stomach. A tall man with sun-scorched skin and mirrored sunglasses barely looked up when she approached. "First-timer?" he asked, voice dry, as raking over her jeans and no-name gear. "No," Ava replied simply with a calm smile. "Just never been to this range." He scribbled something on a clipboard and jerked his thumb toward the firing lanes. "Pick a spot." Without another word, she signed her name in careful cursive and walked toward a far station, putting distance between herself and the group. She still heard the low chuckles behind her, one man muttering something about city folks and toy guns. Ava took a slow breath and laid out her equipment, a well-maintained 9mm pistol, cleaned with care, and a small box of ammo arranged with quiet precision. She slid her earmuffs over her head, adjusting them with practiced fingers. In her mind, her grandfather's voice echoed low and steady, the way it had all those afternoons back in Pine Bluff. "Steady hands. Steady heart. Baby girl." She could feel the weight of eyes behind her, amused, dismissive, waiting. But Ava didn't perform for crowds. She squared her shoulders, unlocked her knees, and turned to face the target flapping gently at the end of her lane. Her heart pounded not from fear, but from the oppressive silence closing in like summer humidity. A few guys a couple lanes down made a show of slamming their magazines in place, one calling out loud enough for her to hear, "Bet she jumps." Ava ignored them. She loaded her magazine smoothly, clicked it into place, and cocked her pistol with a clean, practiced motion. The sound cracked through the air, silencing their laughter for a beat. She planted her feet, drew a long, calming breath, and raised the pistol. The first shot rang out like a whip. Sharp, clean. Everything seemed to stop. Mid-sentence conversations trailed off. A thermos clattered to the ground. Ava lowered her weapon slowly, feeling the recoil hum through her arms. She glanced at the target. Dead center. A hole clean through the bullseye. The range officer's head lifted slowly. His mouth opened just enough to show a flicker of surprise. Nobody spoke. Then came a low whistle from the benches and a muttered "damn." Ava reloaded casually. She could feel the shift. Assumptions recoiling. Postures stiffening. A few men turned back to their own gear, fumbling with purpose. Others stared openly, arms crossed, expressions unreadable. Maybe curiosity, maybe something else. Respect. Perhaps. But not everyone was ready to give that. A tight trio of men near the middle still wore crooked smirks. She caught one of them, wiry and sharp-jawed, muttering, "Anyone can get lucky once." Ava said nothing. She reset her stance. Aimed. Another shot. Dead center. Then another. And another. Each round punched into the same space, the holes merging into a single ragged mark like ink bleeding across paper. She didn't rush. Her movements were fluid, confident, patient. The line of shooters was no longer pretending not to watch. A heavy-set man in a hunter-orange vest near her finally broke the silence. "Where'd you learn to shoot like that?" She lowered her earmuffs and met his gaze calmly. "My grandfather. Started when I was 12. He scratched the back of his neck, chuckling. "Well, hell, guess he taught you right." A few murmured in agreement. But the wiry man and his buddies weren't buying it. Their arms were crossed, eyes narrowed, chins jutted forward in silent challenge. "Bet you can't do that with a rifle," the wiry man said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Ava tilted her head slightly. "Got one I can borrow?" He smirked and tossed a scratched-up .22 rifle onto the bench between them. "Knock yourself out." She picked it up, checked the chamber, and loaded it like muscle memory because it was. Her grandfather made sure she could handle more than just a pistol. 3 shots. Controlled. Precise. A tight triangle on a fresh sheet. The wiry man's smirk faltered. People started shifting closer, trying to look casual. Some leaned on benches. Some stood with arms crossed, watching under furrowed brows. Ava reloaded quietly, ignoring the stir. That familiar ache settled in her chest, the old, stubborn itch that reminded her, you always have to be better, sharper, cleaner. She didn't waste energy on resentment, just focus. The range officer now stood directly behind her, arms folded, nodding slowly. Another set, another perfect line. Low murmurs floated on the air. "She's good. Better than most of us. Better than me. That's for damn sure." The wiry man said nothing. His head was bowed, rifle disassembled in his lap, hands moving too carefully. Ava stayed calm, measured, the way she'd been taught. In a pause between rounds, she wiped her palms on her jeans. Her thoughts drifted to home her teenage son, Andre, already taller than her, and her daughter, Brielle, who still believed night lights kept nightmares away. She thought about what she wanted them to see in her. Not just their mother, but a woman who didn't shrink. Another shot. Another bullseye. An older man down the line finally called out, half joking, "You teach classes?" Ava smiled. "No, sir. Just listened real good." This time, the laughter was different, warmer. The air began to lighten. Men started asking questions: what kind of ammo? Where she trained? How she kept her aim steady? Some were still stiff with pride. But something had cracked. She packed her pistol slowly, the smell of gunpowder thick in the heat. She could feel the shift not just in how they looked at her, but something subtler, like a door nudging open. Not fully, but enough. The wiry man someone had called him Clay kept shooting her glances. His jaw worked. His hands fidgeted. He slammed a magazine in too hard, then stepped into the lane beside her. "You think you're better than everybody?" he snapped. Ava turned her head, blinked once. "No, I'm just here to shoot. Yeah? Well, you think you're something because you got lucky a few times. Roy, the man in the orange vest, stood, brushing crumbs off his jeans. That didn't look like luck to me. Clay ignored him. He lifted his rifle and fired a sloppy round. It tore the edge of the target. Ava said nothing. Roy stepped between them. You want to learn? Watch people who know what they're doing. You don't tear him down. Clay didn't argue. He grunted and stomped off. Roy turned back to her with a nod. You coming back next weekend? We've got a little club. Could use someone like you. She hesitated. Doors like that didn't open often. Not in places like this. Maybe, she said. We got barbecue. Too. Roy added with a grin. You bring that aim. I'll bring the ribs. She laughed softly. It wasn't about showing off. It never was. It was about standing in her own skin. She slung her bag over her shoulder. As she walked past, the eyes that followed weren't skeptical anymore. They weren't mocking either. They were respectful. As she loaded her gear into her trunk, the sky burning orange behind her, Ava thought about how quickly judgment can shift when truth makes itself undeniable. She was about to leave when she heard gravel crunching again. She turned. A young guy, maybe mid-20s, approached with hunched shoulders and a crooked hat. Hey, he said. Name's Tanner. Ava. He rubbed the back of his neck. I just wanted to say, you're really good. Like, seriously good. She nodded once. Thanks. And sorry if me and the guys were, out of line. Ava studied him, then said gently, it's easy to laugh when you don't know someone. Harder when you have to look them in the eye. Tanner nodded fast. Right. Yeah. Just, thanks for showing up. And not showing off. Wasn't here to show off. She said, just here to shoot. He gave an awkward chuckle and walked off. She watched him go and felt something unexpected. Hope. The kind that grows slow. She drove to a quiet gas station on the edge of town. Inside, she reached for a bottle of water. A man stepped in line ahead of her. Clay. They both froze. He turned slowly, a paper bag in his hand. Listen. He mumbled. You're real good. Wasn't right. The way I acted. Ava didn't flinch, didn't smirk. Sometimes, she said quietly, you need to see something different to realize what you've been missing. Clay nodded once. Yeah. He said, guess you're right. He walked out. No drama. No excuses. Just change. The hard kind. Back home. Ava pulled into her driveway. The porch light flicked on. Her son peeked from the couch. Her daughter waved from the table. Hey, Mom. Andre called. Did you win? Ava smiled. Something like that. She poured herself a glass of sweet tea, leaned on the counter, and let the house fold around her. Tomorrow, she'd call Roy. She'd go back, not because she had to prove anything, but because she had something to live. Because every time you refuse to shrink, every time you stay real, you lay down one more brick for those who'll walk behind you. And maybe that's how change happens. Not loud, just steady.